Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Living Yoga podcast. Today's episode is a very special one because we are starting a new series. And this series is going to be a series of interviews where we meet and sit down virtually with people who have a very special story and a beautiful message. And last week, 2 weeks ago in our last episode, we talked about nutrition, the 5 foods that we cherish and love, and the 5 foods that we avoid. And we got some really good feedback from you. Thank you for your comments. And many of you said that you got new insights, that you learned new things, like you didn't know about the monosodium glutamate, that's something to avoid, or about the Canadian oil, the canola oil. So today's episode is going to be very much connected to the previous episode as we continue with the topic of nutrient-dense foods with the founder of Paleokauppa, Jalmari Ellonen. He's going to be sharing his story from how he went from struggling with an autoimmune disorder to thriving now in his 30s. And I met Jalmari and came across his shop through a friend of mine who was using his products, and she recommended me to have a look. And so I did. And ever since I have met Jalmari, he has been to Purna Yoga Helsinki to practice with us. And he's a great guy. So I hope with this brief introduction that you enjoy today's episode, the first one of the interview series. So have a listen, and I'll see you there. Bye.
So, welcome everyone to the Living Yoga podcast. We are so delighted to have today a special guest from our beginning of interviewing series. And our guest is Jalmari Ellonen. Welcome to the show. And Jalmari, I would like you to share with everyone listening a little bit of who you are for those who don't know you yet. Who you are, what's your background, how did you become interested in the topic of nutrition and enhancing the body's capabilities, and what you're doing in general. Just let us know what's your story.
Okay, thank you, Gabriel. It's nice to be in your podcast. I'm very thankful about that. Yes, a little bit about me. So my name is Jalmari. I'm 30 years old, Finnish guy, and I am the founder of the Paleokauppa. And well, something about my story, how I came to be interested in health and how I came to found Paleokauppa. It was like about 13 years ago when I got this autoimmune condition called colitis ulcerosa. It's like disease of inflammation in the large intestine, and it was really bad by the time. And of course, I didn't know anything about natural health or eating healthy when I was 17. And then I started to eat this immunosuppressive medication. And it was maybe 1 year after starting of the medication that I got the disease into remission. And remission is like disease-free time. And yeah, it was, I think, maybe 2 years after I got that I got interested that maybe I can also manage the condition with diet and exercise and stuff. But I didn't know so much that I know now. But I was pretty much eating healthy, but I was also sometimes staying up late and living like a normal teenage man by the time. So I think that I ate medication almost 8 or 9 years, and after that it just stopped working correctly. I was getting these times when the disease came back, and it was really bad. And I was like, what can I do? I am eating medication. I'm eating pretty much healthy, but every time this comes back. So that was the time in 2020 when I heard about carnivore diet, and I just thought that this might be the only way to try to get it into control without medication, because I had heard about stories about like every disease on the planet Earth, including autoimmune disease, every kind of autoimmune disease, and stomach issues, and every kind of problems that people were having. And when they started to eat carnivore, which is eating like only animal products and mainly red meat and water and salt, and so yeah, I just thought that I need to try it, and then I stopped the medication and started to eat only meat. I sometimes ate maybe a chicken or fish, but mainly I ate only red meat every day. And it was 40 days that I got the disease under control. My inflammation was gone. My stomach worked very well, and everything was feeling like I had never felt like that before, because it was really really different way to feel and live and eat, but it worked with me, and I got the disease under control. And after that I started to reintroduce some foods, and it's been like ongoing process this last 4 years, and now my diet is like really much paleo diet. And paleo diet is, it's like eating the way our ancestors when we been hunter gatherers and hunting animals into wild and just gathering herbs and vegetables or fruits or berries. So that's about how I eat nowadays. But yeah, I haven't been eating any medications in 4 years, and that's why I started this whole thing and being really much into health and little bit maybe biohacking stuff and things like that.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. It's very, very interesting. I find that often it's the case, right, that our struggles, like the things that we struggle with the most, actually end up leading us to doing something great, which is definitely the case for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I'm just curious because I have also had my fair share of digestive issues. I think 8 years ago I got the irritable bowel syndrome diagnosis, and I had all kinds of issues. We with Gabriel, we met in India and 10 years ago, and we traveled a lot, and so we got all kinds of parasites and bugs and poisonings on our travels. I think that kind of helped to stir the mess that was already going on in my digestion. And so I'm very, very grateful for what you are doing. And I think that the philosophy that you have very much aligns with the philosophy that that myself and Gabriel, we also have when it comes to nutrition. In the previous podcast episode, we talked about the 5 foods that we really love and the 5 foods that we avoid. And yeah, we got really good feedback from that. It resonated with a lot of people. And our philosophy there, what we mentioned was eat as nature intended, which is very much similar as what you said, eat as your ancestors ate. So
Yes.
yeah. And I'm curious, Jalmari, what kind of symptoms did you have from this issue that you had with your digestion? Were you constipated? Were you bloated after eating? Did you have actually pain?
Yeah, when I was 17, it just started like this, that I had never had any digestive issues in the 17 years of my life, and it was this one stress peak that I got because I separated from my first girlfriend, and the next morning, when I was what's the word? My next morning my stool was bloody, and it was like this. The first year after that, the blood just continued to come every day. I was just pooping bloody stool every day, and it was like maybe 5 to 10 times a day, and it was so bad. But after I stopped eating dairy, it helped a lot, and also gluten foods like grains, and that helped a lot. So I never don't have any bloating or that kind of things, but if I got something, it's more like diarrhea or something.
Okay.
But I haven't seen blood in my stool in many years anymore. So that's the main symptom in colitis.
Okay, that's good to know. And I'm sure that your energy levels were quite low as well because you were young, so you had that, but still it's not something you want to live with. Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any comments, Gabriel, before we go into talking about food?
Thank you. Yeah, I think that it's very interesting all what you're talking, and it makes a lot of sense that the strategy you took when faced with a disease. Of course, at the age of 17, you just follow the doctor's orders and you take your medication. I mean, we are not, and especially in this society, we are just told that doctors are the final authority. We just follow what they say, and yet unfortunately, in many people in the medical tradition, they know very little about nutrition. In fact, ever since I was in my 20s and I had problems and I had to see doctors, I always asked them, what food should I consume to feel better? Like, what is the role of nutrition here? And almost always I got the answer of, oh, just keep eating what you're eating. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Just take the medication and you'll be fine. And it always called my attention. I always felt that this is strange, that the pill is the only solution. It didn't make any sense to me. And then later I learned that in medical school, doctors learn very little to nothing about nutrition. And that's, of course, not the doctor's fault. It's just how we have made our education program. So I'm very glad to hear that you have decided to take things into your own hands and decided to test different things. For you, it was the carnivore diet. For other people, strangely enough, it can be things like going into vegan diets or other conditions or other types of diets. I guess a good point here to notice is that it was mainly an elimination. Like you got rid of pretty much everything you were eating that was especially processed foods and things like that. You got to one thing, and in the case of animal products, they are very nutritiously dense, so that's a good thing. And then slowly, after you eliminated most of the toxicity that was coming, then you got to add foods that were, and then test, okay, does this food work for me? Does this food work for me? And then you can kind of figure out what is it that your body needs? What is it that your body is craving so that it can feel better and it can thrive? So I just think it's a very, it's a lovely way to discover what is it. And I think this can serve as an inspiration for many people listening, that whenever you are faced with especially something like what you had, like an autoimmune condition, something that is chronic, it's not an acute thing, it's just there and you have no idea. I mean, it's really interesting that this showed up just because, you know, you had a breakup and you probably had it was your mind basically that made this trigger something in your physiology that then this showed up into your life, and because before you had no problems. So it's nice that you are taking things into your own hands and using nutrition as a way to heal the body, which is what we believe in this podcast. In yoga is also the role of nutrition. In Purna Yoga, especially, the role of nutrition is so important. And yeah, I'm very, very glad to hear that it's doing very well for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so good, so good.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned a little bit about this in the introduction of this episode, but I really found the foods that you have in Paleokauppa because I was looking for something that's nutrient dense. So we've been talking about this idea of nutrient dense foods, right? Because there's a lot of food in the grocery store when you enter, but most of it has actually very, very little nutrition for the body. And so we can eat a lot in quantity, but we are actually not getting the nutrients that our body needs. And that's the trick I find in today's world. So I was asking myself, what are the most nutrient rich foods on earth that my body accepts happily, that don't give me issues like bloating, like any kind of disharmony in my digestive system? Like, what are the nutrient densest foods that suit my body? And that's when I got to find the foods, many of which you also consume, Jalmari, and that you have in your shop. And so I thought that we could talk about a couple of them, which we really love. The first one that has been studied also quite a lot, which is fascinating. I love that there are all these studies coming up nowadays that also validate the experience of thousands and thousands of people. But the first one is not so well known. Me and Gabriel, we are very big on hydration, remembering to drink enough. I see this in many of my students. I see it with my parents, of course. They just forget to drink. Like they just forget to take the glass of water and drink. And in fact, my 83-year-old father, he says, I drink when I'm thirsty.
Yeah.
And I tell him, look, Dad, by the time you're thirsty, you're already dehydrated.
Exactly.
So keep drinking. So we are always looking for ways to hydrate ourselves. And that's when we came across Shilajit. And I find it just a very interesting food. So would you like to talk a little bit about that? What it is and why you use it, and yeah, what are the benefits of using it?
Yeah, sure. Actually, I have this Shilajit here. I can show it first. It's also like ancient food, and it's been. Can you see it here? This is Shilajit from the Altai Mountains, from Siberia. and it's the black tar-like substance, and it's been around like I don't know how long, but maybe always. but there is some mountain areas around the world where it there is like, I think that it comes from the rocks when the sun is hot, and there it warms up the mountain rocks, and then the Shilajit char starts to come between the rocks, and it's like it's mainly like plant materia, and it includes like minerals. It has like maybe 85 minerals and amino acids and vitamins, and 60% of the shilajit is fulvic acid, which improves the what's the word? It improves how your body uses the vitamins and minerals, and like it's so nutrient dense, exactly how you said before, that it like if you drink water, it has no minerals in it, but you need to have some minerals or salt or something that you can actually hydrate your body. But it's like in the modern world, there is no minerals in the water anymore. So that's why it's important to put minerals or salt in the water. And I have found that Shilajit and very many of my customers also have found that they feel so much more hydrated and energetic if they consume Shilajit every day with water. But you only need to take it like in the morning. It's so small amount. It's like 200 to 600 milligrams a day, and you need just take it one time a day. But also, you need to be consuming enough salt if you want to hydrate your body with water. But this is what Shilajit is.
Yeah, I've been going to the infrared sauna recently. Like I tried to go maybe for the last year, maybe 2 or 3 times a week just to detox. And before I was using Shilajit, I would, because obviously you're losing a lot through the sweat, you're losing a lot of minerals. I was putting all these electrolyte powders and lemon and salt and drinking it. And I would still sometimes get a headache after the infrared sauna because I was just dehydrated, even though I tried to remineralize myself. But after the Shilajit, I would go into the infrared sauna and I would drink it afterwards. I never got a headache, and I felt really rebalanced after. I never got that feeling of being drained since I started using it, and I notice it especially after the sweating.
Shilajit is a great product, and you can use it just with the water. It doesn't really have a strong flavor. It's just, for me, it tastes like just putting a little bit of earth in the water. It's just very earthy and really nice. And it's also for men's health. Is a very, very good product because it has a lot of testosterone boosting properties that are natural. So you don't have to, inject yourself with artificial things, but it helps your body produce more testosterone. And I think also for women, this is also, of course, very much beneficial. But for guys, especially, because our testosterone levels after the age of 35, 40 start to go down quite a lot. So it is good to take it. It's really good to have the Shilajit. And just that small package also lasts forever. So it's great.
Yeah, you need to buy it like 2 times a year. It's really long lasting. And about the studies about testosterone, it is usually about 3 months when the testosterone levels have has gone like 20% up with men.
Amazing. So good.
That is really amazing.
Yeah.
And I was reading some about it also regarding bones. Obviously, because of the minerals, it's good for bone health. So I'm just thinking of all the women in my life beyond menopause, how important it is to take care of that bone density. That it's just another thing that we can add that is natural and helpful to help boost that bone density as well. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Usually my customers have said that when they use Shilajit, they have more energy during the day and maybe more strength at the gym.
Yeah, that's a good point with the cognitive part as well, like mental strength too. I find it's helpful for the brain. Minerals, again, it's like one of the most foundational building blocks of our body is minerals, so we need to have them in our body. Yeah. Well, the other thing that we really love, and our listeners know this already, is the bone broth. So my favorite drink is the bone broth cacao. We use this organic cacao from food in and put the bone broth into it, and it's just so nutritious. And we also add some collagen. But could we talk about bone broth next? Why do you cherish bone broth, and why is it a part of your diet, and why specifically do you have the bone broth that you have in Paleokauppa?
Yeah. So you first. So here is the bone broth powder, and it's freeze dried from fresh bone broth, which is the drink that you when you simmer like marrow bones or knuckle bones or any bones from the animal, you simmer it in the pot like 18 to 24 hours. And after that, the collagen and other nutrients from the bones have gone into the broth, and then it's like this gelatinous stock that you can drink, and it includes like collagen and anti-inflammatory amino acids, and also like glucosamine and chondroitin, which are good for the joints. So this is so nutritious drink for the body, for the stomach lining, from the small and large intestine, and joints and tendons, and also it nourishes your hair, skin and nails. After I started to use bone broth, my I need to be like every week cutting my nails. The growth is so fast, but yeah, the main thing with me was the benefits for the stomach and for the digestion. So that's the main thing that I think that broth is the best. If you want to improve your digestion or stomach health, or maybe even if you just want to have stronger nails or hair or skin, it's so good for that. And yeah, we human been using bone broth like from the beginning of the time when we started to hunt animals, and we wanted to use every part from the animals, and that's what we did with the bones. We simmered it in the hot water and drank the fluid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think with bone broth, I always have this strange relationship, in the sense that in Chile, at least where I come from, we have drank bone broth forever. but it's always been associated to food that is eaten by the so-and-so lower classes, right? People who are very poor, who didn't have money to buy meat or anything else, they would generally just get bones because they're very cheap in the shop, and they would get, of course, organs, which are much cheaper than meat. And these are actually some of the most nutrient-dense foods that are very inexpensive, easy to prepare, and other people always look down on these foods. Like, why would you have that bone broth? It's much better for me to just have the meat or something like that. And now, with the new research, with how people are finding amazing benefits, this food is now becoming like almost like very, very popular, and everyone is embracing it. And that's really, really great because it deserves to be. It's such a nutrient-dense food, as we've been talking through this episode. And the advantage of having it in the form you are selling it in your shop is that, as you said, if you wanted to have just a few portions, you had to cook the bones for so long, and we did that for a while because we didn't have anyone to buy from, and we just had to go to the meat shop, get the bones, put the bones in the broth, and for so long, and the whole home will be smelling bones and be super humid. So it's a very nice thing that you have them freeze dried, and then you can just put it in the water and have it, and that's it. And it's end of the story, super easy, and you get all the benefits. I love bone broth, and I think absolutely everyone should be taking it. And if you are a vegan or vegetarian and you're finding this conversation difficult to listen to, just keep an open mind and know that, as Jalmari was saying, this is a food that we have been ancestrally, celebrating for thousands and thousands of years because of what it gives to us in terms of nutrition. And when we have the food with the spirit of gratitude for the animal, for the life that the animal lived, and understanding that we are in this flow of life, and that when we consume this, we are helping our body be better, then we can have it and enjoy it. And of course, if that's not an option for you, you have other options like vegetable options, which are not as dense, but can still work and for you. So that's at least what I have to say about bone broth. I think is amazing.
No, just without taking this too much into a kind of moral conversation on diet, because that's a really deep loop, but just adding to what Gabriel was saying is that, because I was also a vegetarian, and I talked about this in the previous episode, my body just didn't feel good with only the vegetables. I mentioned my joints started cracking and like making these sounds of dryness, and I was bloated after every meal, and I almost lost my menstrual cycle, and it just didn't suit my body's needs at that time. But what I have noticed that when I went back to eating more animal protein is that because I have more energy and because I feel better, I feel that I can help more. I can help my mother more because I wake up in the morning and I feel great. I can help my father more. They are in the age that they need my help. I can be there for my friends better. I have more energy to do kind of extra things to help others, to go the extra loop. So for me, it's very much worth it to feel good, so that I can serve and I can give more without feeling drained physically and psychologically. So I think that what meditation is to the mind and the heart, nutrient dense, high quality food is for the body, and we need all of it. Like we need the whole package to be at our best and to give. So I just wanted to add that to what Gabriel said about eating. Yeah. Well, I just want to add one last thing about the bone broth before we will go into the collagen. And actually, this is kind of a good bridge to the collagen, which is the food we want to talk about next a little bit, if that's okay, Jalmari. I, as a woman, all the ladies out there listening, my hair would grow all my life to a certain level, and it just would not grow more than that. And also my nails were very fragile. But the hair thing was the biggest one. And since I started to have the bone broth, which we make into the cacao, but I also just put it on top of my my animal protein, or I put it into my smoothies. I can just add it in hot water and drink it. When I started to do that regularly and using also the collagen powder, my hair just doesn't stop growing now. So it grows way beyond what it used to stop at a certain level. Now it just keeps going, which is extraordinary because it's just, my body is telling me that it did not have enough nutrients to grow the hair more. But now that there is, and I'm getting those nutrients, the body grows and the body heals. And it's the same in the gut lining as what you were saying. When we give the nutrients, the body heals. So what about collagen? I mean, bone broth has a lot of the collagen already, but you have a separate collagen product as well. What would you say about that?
Yeah, I have it here. It's what is it? It's Great Lakes Wellness collagen from United States. It's one of the best in the world. That's why I have it. But yeah, it's just the separate collagen. When bone broth has collagen and another amino acids and these tendon nutrients and all kinds of things, this is just the collagen, which is exactly what you said. It's good for the nails, skin, and hair, and also it's good for the gut. But yeah, it's like, well, we are living in modern age, and we want to make all kinds of things. We like to drink smoothies and every kind of these things that we can do in the modern age, like pour coffee and do maybe a bulletproof coffee with some butter and coconut oil, and then we can put just collagen there and get all these benefits easily. So I just think that this is the modern version of bone broth. so yeah. What else can I say? It's just 100% hydrolyzed collagen from the collagenous parts of the animal, from the bones and stuff. And what we talked about before, I'd like to add this, that usually the bones and organs and all kinds of stuff are the things that go to waste, because we are still eating animals on the planet Earth, but the bones, organs are the stuff that go to waste. And I think that this is the best use for that, to do some collagen powders or bone broth or something like that. So then we don't waste that, and I think that we need to eat the whole animal if we eat animals.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what tribes, as you mentioned before, have done forever.
Yeah.
Have consumed from, as you say, from, how is it, from nose to tail, from the beginning to the end, everything. And that is the way to honor, of course, the life of the animal as well. And even animals themselves, when they take another animal's life, they generally go, particularly for the liver, which is a whole other topic. We can just do a whole podcast on liver, but it's the way of honoring life and consume everything and not waste absolutely anything for it. Really, really great. Are there any final remarks that you would like to do, Eva, before we close up the conversation? You can't hear.
There we go. Now I'm back. There would be so many other foods that I would love to talk about, like oysters, which are so nutrient dense, and you have the capsules and the bone marrow and so many other foods that are amazing. But maybe we'll do a second part of this at some point and talk about those. So I think that at this point I would just like to thank you, Jalmari, for the work you are doing as an entrepreneur. It's very competitive world out there for all entrepreneurs. And what I would be very interested to actually have you back to talk about is the Chinese philosophy part that you're also implementing in your food philosophy that resonates a lot with us as well. But we'll talk about that in part 2 at some point. So I would just like to thank you for putting this information out there. And maybe if you want to share one more time where people can order these products, Jalmari, and do you ship only to Finland or do you ship to the Nordics as well? Maybe there are some people listening in other parts of the world. So is it Finland only or elsewhere? And where can people find the products?
Oh yeah, you can find my products from Paleokauppa.fi. And by the time I ship only to Finland, but I have done this that if somebody has asked me that can I ship somewhere else, then I have said that yeah, I can do this with you, and then we make it happen. But this have been like 2 or 3 times in the 3 years when somebody has asked about that, but it's mainly in Finland.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is where most of our listeners are here anyway. So I would like to warmly invite everyone to check out Jalmari's shop and look, because you're not only getting very densely nutritious food, which is the whole topic of this podcast, but you're also supporting small entrepreneurs from the country, from Finland, who are doing their best to find products that serve you, that actually work, that he's actually using. It's not just a marketing thing, and that believe in them just as much as we believe in them. So thank you for being with us, Jalmari. It's been a pleasure. And as Eva said, I hope we can make it happen again at some point in the future. And I hope you have a wonderful day.
Mm-hmm. I would like to add, though, before we forget, that if you do go to Jalmari's shop at Paleokauppa.fi, that if you want to try some of the products that we were talking about now or something else, you can use the code EVA10 and you get 10% off as well from your order. So please don't forget that. It's EVA10 to get 10% off from anything that you order from Jalmari.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jalmari. I will just finish now by inviting also all the listeners to join or participate in our offerings, which are evagabriel.com, our online library of yoga classes, which is there for you and you can use it during the summertime. Also, if you're looking to improve the health of your back and improve your relaxation, we have the website fromtensiontofreedom.com, where you can find a free guide on how to use different movements in your body to help your back feel much better. And of course, I would like to warmly invite everyone, Jalmari also, if he wants, to join next April. Next April, we will have our beautiful yearly yoga retreat in Spain, where we are going to be working with a yoga wall system and enjoying the warmth of Spain during the springtime. That's going to be next year, 2025, from the 13th to the 20th of April, just for Easter week. So it's going to be a lovely opportunity to share, to meet, and I encourage you to sign up early already, because it's going to be fully booked. I already know it. So thank you everyone again for listening. Thank you, Jalmari, for being here, and have everyone a wonderful, wonderful day.